networking and everything, but the internet, oh, he loves that. Oh, man, that's just easy. That's easy pickings. Easy pickings. Especially for the kids who get on the internet, and they get on innocent enough. My children do it. Go to pbskids.org, play with play with Ernie and all the Sesame Street characters and all that. So that's cool. And then Playhouse Disney. Yeah, that's cool. But see, once you get them trained to be on the internet, one little shift in a letter on an internet website can take you someplace you're not supposed to be.
Amen.
And there are people out there that make that their business. They create websites that have the same name except by one letter. So if you mistype, you come to their website. And who knows what they got there. So I'm just saying, we have an enemy, so suffering is guaranteed.
Amen.
You can be in a rock, in your mind, I'm a nice person, I treat everyone well that don't matter. Because there's an enemy. You with me? There's a war going on in Iraq.
Amen.
So you can do what you want, it doesn't matter. There's a war going on. And you can be impacted because of that. There's a war going on. Satan is against us. He's against us. So just based on that, we will suffer because we have someone who wants us dead. We just read it, John 10:10. He comes but to steal, kill, and to destroy. So that's the obvious one. Of course, we have an enemy. All right? Go to 1 Peter. First Peter chapter 4. Verse 12 down. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened to you, but rejoice.
Amen.
Inasmuch as you are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy. Now, I'm going to come back to this verse later on, but so just remember that. If you be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye. For the Spirit of glory and of God rested upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. Yet, if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf. So, there's a distinction. There's suffering for sin, and there's suffering for righteousness. We'll put suffering for righteousness in the corner for now, just deal with suffering for sin. Which, in some sense, could be one of those obvious things again, well, of course. But let's explore that. So let's look at Psalm 51. So we suffer because we have an enemy. He's against us, especially those Christians who are actually trying to be Christians, who are actually trying to live for the Lord. In Psalm 51, this, by the way, it's a great psalm if you have never really spent time studying it. David does a lot of great confessing. But in verse 5, he tells us the whole issue. He says, Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Because of Adam and Eve, we all, unfortunately, are born into sin. We are unclean. Yet we serve a holy God. Now, last time I checked, even if you go to the remotest part of the world, if the laundry is dirty, what do you tend to see people doing with the laundry to get it clean? I know clean it, but how do they clean it? Water, but they scrub it. Some beat it against rock. Some use rocks and pound it, and they pound the dirt out of it. Now, from the cloth's perspective, think about the shirt. If the shirt could talk, what would the shirt be saying? Ow! They would be suffering. See? So, to take unclean to clean, suffering is, no, has to happen. You with me? There's a strain, there's a purging process that must occur. And David talks about that right here. He says in verse 2, wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin.
Amen.
He understood. I can't do it. All right? I started unclean. I know I need some help. As a matter of fact, in Bible study on Tuesday, we were talking about Isaiah 6. And Isaiah, in seeing the seraphims and the angels worshiping God, recognized something. I'm not worthy to even say a word in front of you. He says, I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell among people. He said, I'm not even, he said, oh man, I can't do that much. So he understood. Help me, Lord. And we talked about the fact that the angels say, oh, God has said, oh, you're fine. He brought a live coal. Put it to his lips. And we know this is a vision. We know this is, metaphorical, but at the same time, it was a live coal. He could have used something else. Which means to be purged is gonna hurt. Right? It's gonna hurt. Now let's think about something. We all have been kids. We all are now adults. We all can look at things in our lives from a value perspective. We tend to value the things we put some energy into. If we haven't spent any energy on it, it doesn't tend to hold a lot of value for us. By the way, and this is repeated in the book of Proverbs, people who win the lottery tend to spend it. You know what? They didn't work for it. They have no value. That seems strange, but it's the fact. Wealth got by vanity is soon wasted. They don't value. They didn't put any sweat into it. They didn't. It was just given to them. Okay? The same methodology that you see working in children works today. Toys are the most important thing to the child until they get it. And it may be good for about a day, maybe good for a couple of days, but pretty soon, the thing that was so important is outside of the yard, getting wet or whatever. All right? It's just something they fancied. It wasn't really important. Now, have them do some chores, have them do some labor. Okay, then the toy tends to have a little bit more value because they worked for it. Are you with me? They worked for it. The Malachi 3, Brother Marcus brought this up to us last week. Because of sin, there has to be a cleaning. We are unclean, and God has to make us clean. And we read here in Malachi 3, verse 3, talking about the coming of Jesus, it says, he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness. It says he shall purge them. Brother David, I believe a few months ago, went and explained how this whole process, this smelting process for silver was, that because it was sensitive, you couldn't just put the silver in the fire and walk away. You had to sit there and tend to it. The smith had to actually mind the silver. He just couldn't put it there and I'll come back to it. No. It was so sensitive that the process was so delicate, he had to sit there. And this is what it said. He sits there as a refiner. Even though he's got you in the fire, he's right there. Looking at you, waiting for the right time to take the impurities off. Right? You with me? You know, we're not alone. Like he's causing us to suffer, and he's all somewhere. Elijah talked about it. If you read, I call it somewhat comedic in 1 Kings when he talked about Elijah when he was going against all the prophets of Baal. He says, "Call upon the Lord," and they called upon the Lord. They cut their skin. They did all this stuff. And about noon, he said, "Call. Maybe he's on vacation." Maybe he's off to a far land somewhere. Because their God wasn't answering, of course. There is no God, so he couldn't answer. But God is right there with us. Just like in the old days, and even today, you can watch people do their laundry. Well, you got to beat the clothes to get the dirt out of them. You can't just, I'll hang it out. Sometimes, if it's just a slight smell, that might help you a little bit. Yeah, you may